Cops of Reddit, what's the most bullshit sounding excuse you got that actually turned out to be true? Cop here, got a call of a domestic dispute that sounded very heated and a lot of banging was heard. Get to scene and I can hear someone yelling and swearing and brawling, doesn't sound good at all. Guy answers the door, shirt off and angry, but seems bewildered as to why police had been called. He told me he was building IKEA furniture, sounds like the most bullshit thing. But, we enter, see the new IKEA furniture half set up and no one else is home. Color me surprised. Edit, thanks for the silver and gold. To answer a few people, no, I did not help assemble the furniture. No one should assemble IKEA stuff while armed. Oh man, totally been there before, haha. My partner and I nearly broke up over cheap furniture. I always do it alone for that reason. It's usually easy enough for one person and you can only yell at yourself when you inevitably put something on backwards. I put the top of my girlfriend's desk on backwards, she hasn't noticed it yet, lol. During a search of a person I pulled out a bag of a sticky dark substance consistent with heroin. The subject had multiple drug priors and is a known heavy heroin user. He immediately tells me it is burnt sugar and he is pissed someone sold it to him. Long story short, when I tested the substance it did not test positive for heroin. Bet he wasn't so pissed off at the guy that ripped him off after that. As a former addict, I can say he was definitely still pissed off. He was probably withdrawing while dealing with the cop. Former addict, good work. I'm running booking one night, guy gets brought in for possessing a truly stupendous amount of drugs. I'm talking like 2 Rubbermaid totes full of shrooms, a huge bag of weed, and enough heroin to overdose half the county. Well, says he, I'm a DEA informant and they told me to make the drop so they could be there and raid the crap out of everybody and let me go for helping. Right. Face left please. Guy is like, I'm telling you dude, they're gonna be super pissed that you country retards ducked up fear bust. Whatever, get in the holding cell and shut up. About 3 hours later 3 guys show up, DEA agents, they're super pissed that our deputies fucked up fear bust. I go back to the holding cell to let the guy out, and he's just like, they're super pissed, huh? Yeah. Told you so. I had a similar call to this one night. I was on patrol, running traffic, and ran a tag through the state's DMV system. Tag comes back immediately with a DHS warning, tone and everything, alerting that the driver was on the terrorist watch list and advised not to make contact with the driver under any circumstances. I thought maybe I'd run the wrong plate, so I tried it again. Sometimes the tags are hard to read and things show up wrong. The tag returned again as the driver being on the no contact list. I was about to advise dispatch that of the situation when they raised me on the radio, saying someone from DHS had called about me running the plate twice and demanded that I not make contact with the vehicle. Needless to say, I left him alone. But it was crazy spooky how fast they called after I'd run the plate. Serious watchdogs. Policing gets spooky when it gets up to the federal level. This guy is on our radar, we know about him, do not talk to him, do not ask questions, just thank us and go home and hug your wife. Former marechaussee here, look it up, it is a Dutch thing, police but also military. We also had jurisdiction over the American soldiers stationed here. One day we got called over to a possible case of domestic violence. We arrive at the house and the guy opened wearing only underwear. He told us he and his wife were role-playing. Of course we didn't trust this and asked to see his wife. After denying us entry we told we would come back with a warrant. He reluctantly agreed to let us enter. So we go in and he opened the basement door and inside was the freakiest sex dungeon. I mean chains, whips, things I couldn't identify hanging on the wall. And in the middle hanging in Shen was his butt naked, gagged wife. We asked her but she told everything was okay. Turned out they were really into some kinky stuff. Asked them to keep the screaming part in the basement and to a minimal. We did the whole thing with a straight face, but as soon as we were in the car, furious wanking ensued? An awesome end to the story. I was driving with my fiancé and we went through a roadblock where they checked registration and shit, and we get to the cops and they ask for our registration. I'm sitting in the passenger seat so I open up the glove box and right there is a clear, unmarked baggie filled to the brim with catnip. I completely forgot it was there and just froze. Wide-eyed, I turned to look at the cop shining his light through my open window and has frozen too, just staring at the baggie with this look on his face like really? I just started immediately professing I swear to God this is catnip, you can take it and smell it or test it or whatever, like I swear. And at this point it's just so ridiculous that I start cracking up, and the cop takes it and reasonably deduces him telling the truth, and he starts laughing and calls his partner over and tells her what happened, and they both just cackled away for a minute and sent us on our way. Cat weed. Good thing they weren't cat cops. You mean law enforcement? I got pulled over for driving to school at 10 a.m. The cop wanted to know why I was skipping school. I explained that our little town's girls' basketball team just won state, and since the game was so far away they let us start that day at 10:30 a.m. He followed me all the way to the school so he could ask the principal. I still don't know what was illegal about driving to school at 10 a.m., but he was kind of a douche. Not a cop, but heard it said to one EMS. Go to a woman who has been attacked by her cat. Her injuries were crazy, covered in blood, her scalp is literally shredded, huge lacerations, etc. I know cats are known to do some damage, but the story wasn't fitting and she was so sketchy about anyone going in her house. Adamantly refuses to let anyone inside because she thinks they're going to take away her cat. He didn't mean to, he was just excited by the birds. Her cat was a lynx. Aw man, I used to work at a slightly sketchy grooming place, and we had a lady bring her bobcat kitten in. She wanted us to socialize it more than bathe it, so we spent an hour every few weeks just handling it and trying to teach it that clawing us was bad. She eventually took it to Montana to get it declawed, and stopped coming shortly after that, so not sure what happened to her or the cat. Sucks that people want to try to keep wild animals though. I was the one with the excuse. Forgot my keys at friend's place before going out drinking that night. Get home at 2 a.m. no keys. Only one of our windows didn't have ghetto bars, so I took the screen out and starting pushing smacking it up. Locks were on the sides only providing friction. As I'm halfway in, I just feel whump. Got tackled into the house, the officer was still outside, holding on to my ankles. I look up and just said, I'm astonished by your response time. I actually live here, let me get up, unlock the door, and give you my ID. So I did, and he stares at it for a second, then says sorry and sprints off to look for the person they were actually in the area looking for. Once in HS while I was asleep I hear my window open and my friend say let me in there after me. And start crawling through my window. I was barely awake when I see a large man grab her halfway through and start pulling her back out as she let out a scream. I'm going for my knife, it's chaos. Luckily I noticed it was a cop and told her to stop fighting. The cops said they were there because a bike thief had been in the area and they saw her run from them on a bike and breaking into an apartment when they chased. She had snuck out to see her BF, and when she saw them near her place, thought her family had noticed she was missing and called the cops. She was hoping to get in my room so she could say she was sleeping at my place. The cop just said to be less stupid, I agreed. I feel like be less stupid is good advice for most of us in high school. Lol, yeah, I forgot to mention she was so scared and crying, she kept stuttering, so I had to talk to the cop for her. So he just chased down a 16-year-old girl who is maybe 5 feet and is now in tears. The girl he's having translate is another young teenage girl through her bedroom window and can barely be classified as awake. I'm sure the whole thing was odd for him too, and he just cut his losses. My dad is an officer and he pulled someone over for speeding and running a red light, and they said their breast implant burst. He called EMS to rush them to the hospital and turned out it did, and it's actually very dangerous if they leak. Edit, thanks for my first silver edit, it's not actually as dangerous as I thought. Thanks to the plastic surgeons that commented. Do you know why I pulled you over? My boob exploded. One of the few occasions where calm your tits could be taken literally. Alright ma'am, I'm going to need you to calm your tits. Not a cop. Family friend was. Pulled a guy over who was speeding profusely. Guy was obviously disheveled. He said he was headed to the hospital because he had a tick on his penis. Cop was confused, but he escorted him there, then waited in the lobby to check on him, see if he was blowing smoke. After a while, he asked the desk what was going on, why it took so long to take a tick off his penis. Her reply, it wasn't on it. It was in it. I actually met someone this happened to. He said he got a tick in his dick, about an inch in, he said, when he was 17 and had to go to the hospital to get it out. He said the pretty young nurse with the forceps and the alcohol was enjoying herself far too much, and he was not enjoying himself at all. He said he wasn't interested in sex for quite a while after that. I guess it took time for the trauma to fade. You've heard of Elf on the Shelf, now get ready for tick on the dick. In the dick.